A reigning pageant queen who competed in last year's Miss National Peanut Festival pageant is accused of killing an 18-month-old boy, remains behind bars. And if she is convicted of the crime, she could face life in prison.
Little Jaxton Drew. Jaxton was only 18 months old when his father's girlfriend cut short his life. Now, new witnesses have popped up and started talking. To add to that, we also have more information about the relationship between the parents of the victim, and unfortunately, news of possible family drama brewing has also come to light. Join us as we take yet another deep dive into the sinister case of this beauty queen turned infant killer. This time, we will be focusing on the parents of little Jaxton. Who are his parents? Why was he in the care of his father, and what kind of relationship did they have? At this time, there is still not a lot to go on, but let us go through all the information that we have. Let's take a quick look back at the case. It was Sunday, the 14th of January 2024. Sometime before noon, the father, Javante, rushed an unresponsive Jaxton to the hospital. It was the Phoebe Sumter Medical Center. Later, at around 2 p.m. that day, the Georgia Southwestern State University Police Department asked the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to investigate the death of a child. The little boy was only 18 months old.
According to a press release, hospital staff tried to perform life-saving measures on the boy, but he still died. So far, we don't know his cause of death or many details surrounding it.
The villain in this story is none other than Javante's girlfriend, Trinity Poague. 18-year-old Trinity Poague is a beauty queen who has held the title of Miss Donaldsonville since 2012. Now, this is not to be mistaken for the larger and more popular Miss Donaldsonville scholarship pageant in Louisiana.
Beauty queen to alleged murderer. This Georgia teenager is now accused of killing an 18-month-old toddler during her freshman year of college.
A quick look at her Instagram and you would find that Trinity took great pride in her participation in pageants.
Because oftentimes in these cases, someone comes through, whether it's the person themselves, although she's in jail right now, so I don't know how that would be possible, or a family member, or even Instagram themselves because they don't want to be associated with that, and they will go through and delete murderers or alleged murderers' accounts. So on the screen right now, you'll see a whole bunch of screenshots and everything from her Instagram. And as I'm going through it, you can also see that she is just really proud of herself for these pageants and competing. She seems to have a love for it, and she also, aside from the Miss Donaldsonville, please correct my pronunciation.
It is evident that she showcased a genuine passion for these events. Technically, you can't have that quick look because that Instagram page has since been put on private. We actually do not expect this Instagram account to remain active for much longer, because we know that social networks do not particularly like to be associated with known criminals and alleged murderers. Who knows, before the account can be taken down, friends or family members with access to her social network accounts could choose to delete the account. Trinity is a freshman at Georgia Southwestern State University. Notably, this is a university environment with strict rules regarding dorms and visitation. These rules are outlined in the student handbook, and they include restrictions on strangers in dorms past specific hours. The rules also extend to limitations on consecutive and monthly guest stays. Notably, guests must be accompanied by the host when walking round the hallways and the campus. Allegations, sourced from individuals on campus who have shared information on social media, suggest that Javante and his son violated these rules during their visits to Trinity. Apparently, Trinity had been in a relationship with Javante for approximately a year, but they opted to keep their connection discreet. Irrespective of Javante's exact age, if they began dating a year ago, Trinity would have been 17 years old. Considering her age, his role as a single father, and the age gap between them, it makes sense why they kept things low-key. Trinity must have loved Javante in her own twisted way. While there are no public photos or videos of them together online, Trinity liked a bunch of his Instagram posts. At this point, you should also note that Trinity's parents were unaware of her relationship or the fact that Javante was a father and that their daughter was playing stepmother to his child. They did not know about any of this until the case began to circulate via the media outlets. Returning to January 14, 2024, Javante, Trinity, and baby Jaxton Williams were together in her dorm. Javante briefly left to get food and entrusted Trinity to care for Jaxton. Upon his return, Jaxton displayed unusual behavior and quickly became unresponsive. Acting swiftly, Javante rushed out and took his son to the hospital. This hospital is situated right there in Georgia, and the medical staff implemented life-saving measures in the ER, yet nothing could be done. Little Jaxton succumbed to his injuries. While we can't say for sure what injuries little Jaxton regrettably suffered before he died, we can say that there has been speculation going round the media. It appears that Jaxton had suffered blunt force trauma to the head. This trauma is believed to have caused a skull fracture and, ultimately, a brain bleed. It is important to note that it was the on-campus police at Georgia Southwestern State University who contacted the regular police department in Georgia. This detail will become more crucial as the case develops. Now, it was this action that initiated the investigation into the death. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI, got involved on January 14, 2024, the day the investigation was requested. While detailed investigation specifics remain undisclosed, we know that searches, evidence collection, and interviews were conducted. Allegedly, details about Trinity's phone use emerged. These details suggested that she had done different searches on how to harm a toddler in the week preceding the tragedy.
What we do know, though, is that Poague has been charged with a couple of things: felony murder, aggravated battery, and first-degree cruelty to children. Again, we don't know the specifics as of right now, but what could be some of the things that would lead to those charges?
Well, it's important to explain. Cruelty to children first degree is a felony, and that one just means some sort of pain and suffering has happened to the child. What I think is a giveaway here is that aggravated battery. That's a harsh charge. Of course, we have the felony murder. I'm not disputing that. But what I read into it, and believe me, I'm just reading into it, is this baby could have been shaken. So there's your aggravated battery. Could have been smothered. There's your aggravated battery. Aggravated battery requires damage, like in an adult would be like a shoulder being dislocated, a broken nose, something substantial that then makes it become aggravated battery. So when I hear that charge happening here, I'm only guessing and assuming that something happened to this baby, obviously, that caused her to be killed. I'm not fighting you on that, but what was that? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was that? What damages were happening here? And I just assume and read into that charge that means something like this: a shaken baby, and I know he's 18 months, but you can still shake. Something happened here.
Based on that aggravated...
Gathering insights from those allegedly connected to the situation is not the most reliable source of information. That said, the details of the case that we can say have been confirmed center around a couple of Trinity's interviews. When questioned by the police department regarding little Jaxton Williams, she consistently claimed he fell off the bed. However, there was a flaw in this narrative. Yes, she was alone in the dorm room with him and could very well be the only one who knows what happened, but still, the injuries diagnosed at the hospital tell a different story. They simply were not inconsistent with a child falling from a bed. Jaxton experienced blunt force trauma to the head. If you're a parent and have a niece or a nephew, then you know that mishaps can happen when a baby rolls off a bed or a couch. In that case, typically, the babies are fine. However, it's advised that they seek medical attention to ensure their well-being due to the fragility of their bones. In essence, children falling from beds usually result in minor issues, not blunt force trauma, brain bleeds, or skull fractures. This just does not happen. In Jaxton's situation, it's evident he did not merely fall off the bed. Following the confirmation that this was a murder case, Trinity was arrested on the 19th of January 2024. She is now facing 3 charges: felony murder, aggravated battery, and cruelty to children in the first degree. She was then incarcerated in the Sumter County Detention Facility in Georgia and has since been held without bond.
We do know is that there are some pretty serious charges against the defendant here, Trinity Poague. Does that mean there's some pretty solid evidence to back up this murder charge she's facing?
The way I look at it, yes, there was enough to get to the arrest and hold her in jail with no bond, and no one's filed a motion to set bond yet. Now it's still early. And that's what we're going to do. If I was the lawyer at this point, I would go ahead and start digging a little bit and see, how did we get here? And what would make me think she's bondable, and we'll find out, is if the evidence is a little scant. And we don't know yet. We don't know what statements she made. I think the key part here is what text messages she texted family and friends. And then when law enforcement came to her, what did she say? And then, of course, you've got video surveillance. What happened, where, and when? And does that get corroborated with what she says in her statements? So if there's other things that she did that didn't make sense, that's going to make her stay in there. And as you already have seen, the GBI is investigating this. And to get to the point of arresting somebody, they do have some evidence. I just don't know what it is yet.
At this point, we will lay emphasis again that this is a developing case. So right now, the official autopsy findings cannot be accessed. The Georgia Southwestern State University Police Department and the Americas Police Department are assisting the GBI with this investigation. So we believe there will be substantial information about this case in the coming weeks. Now we mentioned that Jaxton was taken to the hospital by his father. So let's dive a little deeper there. What is the relationship between the father and son? And how did it all tie into this murder case? As you know, the victim of this horrible crime is Jaxton Drew. Notably, the little boy's birth certificate identifies him as Romeo Angeles, and this is because it is the name his mother put down for him at the time. The reasons are still unclear, but most reports establish the fact that his mother simply did not want to raise him anymore. Right now, the reports simply identify her as Shayla. Little Jaxton's father goes by the name Junja Julian or Javante. We mentioned in our previous video that there was some sort of custody battle for little Jaxton, which ended with Father Javante gaining full custody. But we have more information on that now. Yes, Javante had been taking care of Jaxton ever since, but the truth is that there was no actual legal battle between his parents. Shayla simply didn't want to take care of Jaxton, so she handed him over to his father and went on to live her own life separately. Now the fact that this change in custody was not made official has become a big problem with regards to the advancement of this case, but we will get to that in a moment. Information gleaned from the GoFundMe description suggests that Javante made significant life changes for his son and made him the central focus of his life. He was a good father who loved and provided for Jaxton. On this note, you can see why his father went on to change his name. So, while the rest of the family called him Jaxton Drew or JD for short, the GoFundMe page opened in his honor bears the name Jaxton Williams, and his obituary bears another name. There will be more on this as well in a moment. With regards to the actual crime, there has been a lot of speculation as to what the motive was. There are many theories, but the one that has stuck out most to the media is the one that allegedly came from Javante himself. Javante had initially reported that Trinity was supposedly jealous of Jaxton and his relationship with him. Hearing this, you just immediately think how unfathomable this is. How could jealousy possibly be a motive in this case? We simply cannot imagine any sane woman being jealous of the attention that a father gives to his son. It is all sorts of red flags going on there. Javante has allegedly confirmed that Trinity often got jealous, but he never imagined for a second that she could act on it.as unimaginable, as you may think this is. Sadly, this kind of senseless murder cases involving child victims have been popping up more recently. To corroborate this motive, people who lived in the same dorm as Trinity Poague have started speaking up. It seems to be a general consensus that Trinity was sort of a mean girl when she wanted to be one. One of them has been identified as Lily Waterman, and she emphasized that little Jaxton had been crying for a long time that day before he suddenly just stopped. According to her, nobody knew what was going on. That day, Lily was told to be in a room just doors away from Trinity Poague, and sadly, she remembers that Jaxton had cried for well over an hour.
of a toddler. Trinity Poague was a freshman on campus who was dating the baby Jaxton Drew's dad. Another freshman says she was just doors away from Poague's room when she heard the baby crying for more than an hour. The county coroner says when he examined Drew's body, he could tell there were signs of a type of trauma. He's still working to learn more of what type of trauma it is.
As a person, I said she was very out at the time. She was very outgoing and very fun. I was still in disbelief.
It's sad when you hear somebody that goes to your college was arrested for child murder. That's like didn't really know what to make of it.
The Donaldson pageant director says says her title will now be stripped. The university is offering counseling for people on campus.
Vida following the arrest, the university and the pageant organizations have been cutting ties with Trinity Poague. First off, if you go through all the rules for the pageants, you will observe that they have all highlighted their top rule, which is to be a good and moral person. Participation is restricted to individuals with ongoing legal cases, those who are pregnant or have recently given birth, and those with a history of criminal activity. If the charges she's facing do turn out to be true, you can imagine that Trinity will never compete again. That price is the least of Trinity's problems, as the Donaldsonville pageant director has announced that Trinity Poague has been stripped of the title of being the Queen. The Georgia Southwestern University has also erased all involvement with Trinity Poague. A quick search for her name on the website will not yield any results anymore. There is also speculation that the university trying to wash their hands off the case is the reason why there is not a lot of information on the case. The crime happened within the campus premises, in one of the dorms, and Trinity was also notably arrested in her dorm afterwards. Do you think there is a possibility here? Moving on, Shayla is apparently the reason why there have not been a lot of updates on the case. As little Jaxton's only documented parent, she is the only one the authorities have been in contact with and sharing information to. Javante might have done all the work and given Jaxton all the love he needed in his life, but unfortunately, the law does not recognize this. There is no document, not even the birth certificate, nothing that legally states or identifies Javante as Jaxton's father. Javante allegedly tries to get information from Shayla, but it is said that she mostly ignores him. In fact, during the visitation and funeral for little Jaxton on the 27th of January 2024, Sheila reportedly tried to stir up some drama, as she insisted that only a few people from Javante's side of the family could come.
Everybody's been asking for an update in the Trinity Poague case. There's not a lot to tell, but this is what I know. Baby JD's visitation and funeral was this past Saturday. The mother, Shayla, tried telling the dad's side of the family that only a few of them could come, but as you can see, they said hail to the no, and they all went. But they did say that it went really smooth, well, as smooth as a funeral could be, and they were thankful that Shayla didn't start any kind of drama. And speaking of Shayla, she's the reason why there haven't been a lot of updates on this case. Don't forget, she is the only person listed on baby JD's birth certificate, so the police won't even talk to Jay. There's nothing even legally stating that he's baby JD's father, so they're only talking to her. And whenever he tries asking her if she's heard anything, if there's any kind of update, she usually just ignores him. So imagine being a man in your early 20s and you're raising a baby because the mother didn't want to, and you're dating a girl who you trust, and then she does something like that to your baby, which is horrific enough, and now you don't even really know what the hell's going on because the mother won't tell you anything. Even though she wasn't even really a mother, she was more like a uterus provider. So hopefully he's able to get some answers soon. I do know that for now Trinity is still sitting in jail and a motion for bond has yet to be filed.
That was not all. Shayla made sure to use the name Romeo Angeles for the obituary and also mentioned herself as his loving mother. She even took this a step further by not mentioning Javante at all in the obituary. What are your thoughts on this? In the meantime, Jaxton's family has asked for privacy at this time. Javante is understandably grieving the loss of his son right now, and most likely also grappling with the betrayal from someone he trusted. Coupled with the fact that he has not been getting any information himself, all these are possible reasons why he has not yet addressed the public or said anything official since the case took on a life of its own. Again, we do hope that this case develops quickly so that justice, at the very least, can be served.
of investigation. Poague was charged on January 19th.
What normally happens in an investigation is when it's murder, rape, kidnapping, these horribly bad charges that you won't get bond at the magistrate level, you're going to have the investigators take some serious time to make sure that there's some merit to these charges before issuing arrest warrants. And this happened rather in quick succession. So you got to wonder, is there some inculpating evidence here that's real obvious? And we don't know yet, but I have a suspicion there was something there that made it really, not say obvious, the wrong word, but made it clear that they have enough to issue an arrest warrant fast. And I don't know what that is yet, because normally they'll wait. They would want to wait to get some more medical records. They want to wait and get some reports made. This happened very quick. From what I read, it was January 14th to like January 19th, something like this. Very quick incident to arrest. There's something here that made them run and arrest her and get her off the streets.